Hey, so I'm going to teach you today how to stretch out the low back, especially if you've been shoveling or you've been on your bike and hiking and you've got tight hips, tight hamstrings, maybe even tight. You see your low back is like screwed up a little bit. There's some very simple stretching exercises that are going to help relieve or eliminate some of that tension in the low back and also help you manage sore muscles and tight muscles in an easier way. So this is something that you would do after you've shoveled, after you have biked, after you've hiked or taken a walk. Great exercises to do really at the end of a workout. I'm going to take my socks off, but of course you don't have to. I'm going to show this on a chair, so you can do this on a chair. You can also use back of a car, anything that is available to you. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a downward facing dog, but with my hands on the chair, I can stretch the spine. I'm pulling the hips back with a little tiny bend in the knee. In fact, I'll bend and straighten the knees. So you can see where the dip in my low back is happening. And I'm stretching and elongating all the way through the arms and shoulders. That's going to help, especially if you've been working quite a bit on, in a rounded position. It's also helpful if you've been working for long periods of time at your desk. So just about 5 or 6 breaths in that downward facing dog position with a little cat-cow modality of the hip tucking under and then extending out. I'm going to tuck my shirt in a little bit here so you can see. And then we move on to a forward lunge. So this is just a forward lunge, just like it sounds. Now it might seem a little bit out of the ordinary that we're not stretching the low back. There's some really great stuff we can do on the floor for that. What I'm doing right here is getting some of the tension out of the hip hamstrings and the calf area, the quadricep, the hip flexor, so we don't have the strain happening on the low back. So one leg's forward, one leg is back, and I'm feeling a deep stretch in the calf. And then we're going to straighten the front leg, tip the toes up and bend the back knee and bow forward slightly. So now I'm getting the hamstring of the front leg versus the hip flexor on the back leg. All the while I'm just supporting myself with the chair, and then we're going to switch sides. So we bring the left leg forward, right leg back. And note, I'm in a pyramid position. If I bend the front knee, I'm going to feel that deeper stretch all the way through the back heel and the Achilles. This is great. And also opening up the hip flexors so we don't have so much tightness here in the quad. I love it. And if you want an extra bend or extra stretch back there in the calf, bend your knee. This feels so good after a day of hiking in the snow. Then we're going to come up, straighten the front leg and bow forward. You can bend the back knee to get a more deeper stretch all along the back side of the hamstring. We call this the forward lunge and the back lunge. And then we'll take a low lunge with a twist. So I'm going to move the chair just slightly over. I'll use it to come into the low lunge. And I can stay a little bit higher or use a block and bring the hand to the floor and then twist open in that low lunge. Full breath in, full breath out. So we're just going a little bit deeper here. That helps open up the hip so we're not holding tension in the hip. That's going to create pain in the low back. When your hips are tight and they're not fluid, your leg's not fluid, of course, the fluid area is your low back. That's going to take the strain. Let's come back up and switch sides. Go very gently. Left leg forward, right leg back. And I can stay in this higher lunge or even bring the hand to the floor, to a block. And then I'm going to just open it up a little bit in a twist. So I can do that with the hand on a chair for support, the hand on the elbow on the knee for support, and take 3 to 5 deep breaths. We really feel like we're opening a little bit deeper here through the hamstring, and we're also opening the hip. Then we're going to walk it to center, keep the feet in a wide angle, and take it in a forward fold. Hands again can be on your bumper of the car, they can be on a chair, or all the way down to the floor. So I'm just showing it wide angle forward fold on the floor. You're just going to take the head down towards the floor, the hips up to the sky. Any variation here, so bending the knees and keeping the thighs wide, and then straightening the legs and lifting the hip up, and bend and straighten. You're going to feel a nice, awesome stretch right across the low back, and that's going to help decrease the pain that you might be feeling in the low back if you've injured it in one of those activities. Let's bend the right knee and then take it into a skandasana. Now again, I'm using the floor. You could use a block, or you could use the chair right in front and place the hands on the chair and then just go side to side. So once again, this inner channel, inner thigh is getting the stretch. The hips are opening, and I'm just moving side to side. Get a little bit more fluidity, flexibility in the lower half of the body so that my low back is not taking so much of the pain. You're going to feel like our low back is not a vacuum. It's not just stretching the low back. It's strengthening muscles that aren't working and stretching those that are too tight, that are creating a pinch or putting more stress on a particular area. Let's come back to center, bring the feet in a little bit more, and take an easy goddess pose. Squat. My feet are turned out, and we can't see that quite. Let me just angle that a little bit so you're getting the projection of my feet in the same direction as the toe. I'm going to just drop a shoulder in. So we've got this little slight twist going on. The low back gets a nice release here, and you're going to hold for a couple breaths. Remember, the breath is going to be key when you move back to center. Inhale, and when you take it to the other side, exhale and hold. The breath is key for the movement. You're going to marry the breath and the movement. They're going in tandem. And then we'll come back to center, straighten the legs, and then we'll take a deeper squat. So the feet come in slightly, and for this, I'll use a chair. And of course, you can use a bumper, the car, back of the car, whatever you need. And my toes are going to be turned out slightly. And I'm going to drop down as far as I can. This chair does not have a lot. It is not very stable. So I think what would be even better would be for me to use a table where I'm holding the table and then taking the squat. So it gives your low back a deep stretch, and you don't have to go as far as I'm going. So it could be here, the hips as low as the knees, or you're sitting on something and just feeling that stretch, or you're taking it all the way down into the squat. So my hips have a little bit of space between the floor, maybe an inch or two between the floor and my hip. And I'm just going to pause here with a couple of deep breaths. Feels super great. And then release it. Hands to the floor, coming out gently. When you come out of a squat and you've been in there for some period of time, you want to do so with awareness. So we're not just jerking ourselves out of something, but taking care to do it thoughtfully. So now we're going to do a quad stretch. So when the quads are tight, again, the low back takes the pressure. So we'll stretch the quad out by just bringing one heel into the glute at a time. We're dropping the knee down, keeping the thighs as equal signs, parallel to each other. And then there's a little tuck of the tailbone. So from the side, I'm not here with the ribs pulling out. I'm pulling the ribs in and little tuck of the tailbone towards the floor and then drawing the heel in really strong. Now, some folks are gonna touch the heel to the glute. Some people are gonna be out a little bit. Do what is comfortable for you so you're getting that nice stretch down the front side of the quad. This is one of my very favorite stretches. And then you're going to release and take it to the other side. So we're holding these stretches for a good solid minute, 30 seconds to a minute. You could even go as far as 90 seconds. And what it looks like without the chair, both hands coming around. And now I'm catching the foot, drawing the heel in. Again, forming the low belly. You can put a hand on the chair for steadiness or try that balance. But you don't compromise the stretch in the quad just to get the balance. It's not about the balance. It's about the stretch in the quad right here. Okay, we're going to release that. Oh, but it feels so good to hold it for longer. Right, release it, and then we'll do a final stretch for the hips and low back. And this is a figure 4. You can do it with a chair. You're going to cross one ankle over the thigh, keep the foot active. I'm going to turn towards you so you can see this a little bit more. My foot's active and I'm seated. My hips are level. So I'm not lifting one hip or dropping a hip down or skewing the side body. It should be level and straight, parallel sides. And the hips are sitting way back, like I'm trying to sit on a chair. That's going to really open up the hip piriformis. And your low back's going to love it. Love it, love it, love it. Now, I'm resting my hands on the chair. So the chair's just helping me with my balance. It's not doing a whole lot as far as like giving me support to lean back. But if I had a table, something more stable, and I'll use the table right here, I can grab the table, take the seat, and now I'm actually leaning back and pulling back and really getting that hip to open. That feels amazing. So if you've got a desk or something more stable like a car, or I've got this big table right here that you're holding on to, and I'll just turn it this way so you can see, holding on to the table. And then I'm using my weight as a counterbalance to move backward, drawing the belly in, keeping the hips level, and then I can really start to open up the hip, the QL. So quadratus lumborum right here connects to your spine and then to your hip. And that tends to get really tight, especially when you're doing some activities like shoveling or hiking, especially as it's going to get ratcheted up. And this is a really nice way to stretch it out one leg at a time. So when we're finished there, give it a little shake out. Notice how you feel. That's the full sequence. You can memorize that, and then in 10 minutes, just have a really smooth routine that helps release your low back. My low back right now is really, really happy. Now I'm going to go into and transition into what do you do when you want to go shovel the snow. It's winter time, and every year I have friends say, hey, I just tweaked my back shoveling. We can mitigate that a little bit by warming the body before we actually go out and shovel. And then during the time that you're shoveling, take a little break and do this. I've done this myself. When I'm shoveling the snow, we don't have a snow blower, so it's like I'm the mechanical arm of shoveling, and sometimes it gets pretty heavy here in Utah. So One thing I like to do is use my shovel. So I've got a shovel in the hand and I'm just going to take it up and over. So I'm stretching the side body. You can do this inside or outside. So I'm going to use this chair as my pseudo shovel right now. So again, we want to start opening up and lengthening the side body and just getting some breath in there, getting some awareness. Get the blood flow moving so we're not surprising, we're springing something on our body that it's not ready for. So switch the side that your shovel is on. You're going to hold it here and come up and over in the other direction. So the hand can be on top of the shovel handle or holding the handle and pressing down. So that's your support system right here. I don't have a shovel. I'm just going to rest the hand on the thigh. And then we're going to come back to center, take the shovel in front. So I'm going to use my chair again as the shovel, and then scoot back. Now you saw me do this in our beginning, cat-cow, the stretch. This is also a great wake up. I'm going to keep the knees bent, and I'm going to go a little bit larger in the movement. So it's a cat-cow, rounding and then extending the spine. And rounding and extending the spine. And then shake it out a little bit. And note when you're shoveling that it's usually asymmetrical. So we go one side and then we lift and shoot the snow out. What's helpful is to use your legs. So when you're pushing the snow this way, keep the knees in a good, nice working stance. And then when you're ready to lift not only with the arms, but lift with the legs. So that lift happens in tandem. And then you've got a little momentum to throw it, shovel it out, right? And then you're going to switch the arm that you're on all the time. So don't just go one side all the time. You're going to swap it up and shovel on the other side as well. So you're going left and right, creating an even balance and tone through your shoveling. And then remember to take a break, stretch it out right during the middle of your shoveling, take it back. And then a nice twist would be helpful. So you're going to hold the shovel here and then just turn. You open up the shoulder and then come back to center and go the other direction. So that's my A to Z for a nice releasing the low back while you're shoveling.
Any better? Oh, yeah.